Larryboy, The Cartoon Adventures is a 4-episode direct-to-video animated cartoon created and produced by Big Idea. Compared to the usual 3D CG animation VeggieTales is known for, this show is created with Adobe Flash. It's not stated exactly when production started, but it's said that maybe it was either between the first or second Larryboy episodes. But considering the dates, I'm willing to believe it was after the second Larryboy episode, Larryboy and the Rumor Weed. Tom Bancroft, a former Disney animator who animated young Simba, Iago, and Pocahontas for some examples, helped produce and create the idea for the show. Fun fact, the series could have potentially been done in the traditional style, but since Jonah, a VeggieTales movie, was being produced at the time, they settled for a more 2D comic book style, which in my opinion I think hindered them for the entire run of the series. The first episode, Larryboy and the Angry Eyebrows, was released on March 16th, 2002, to negative reception. Which, I mean, can you really blame the people for feeling that way? It does have a more quote-unquote cheaper style, and while it does have expressive animation sometimes, it just doesn't lend itself well to an actual series. The show lasted from March 16, 2002 to June 10th, 2003, a little over a year. The episodes were released sporadically and came and went with little fanfare. Tim Hodge has said that the show was basically an experiment and it wasn't the direction the studio wanted to go forward with. The decline of Big Idea around this time due to Jonah also led to the downfall of the series. And with that all out of the way, I'm here to talk about the 4 released episodes and see if they really hold up as quality, and to take a look back on the entire series as a whole. So let's get started. Larryboy and the Angry Eyebrows. I'm not good at explaining things, so I'll just read out the synopsis for this episode. Awful Alvin releases a bunch of angry eyebrows all over Bumbleberg. When someone holds on to their anger, a pair of angry eyebrows sticks to their forehead. The episode has a really good lesson on letting go of anger. It's very real for a Larryboy cartoon. The animation isn't as bad as people said back then. I mean, it's weird sometimes, but overall, it's actually really solid. The character designs have way more diversity than in VeggieTales, and I appreciate that, and the transitions from 3D to 2D are actually very good in my opinion. I also really like how characters show and express emotions. Awful Alvin is an entertaining villain, and I kinda wish they'd introduced him into the main series. This episode is actually pretty funny, I'm not gonna lie. I laughed out loud with certain jokes, and it seems like the show takes itself very seriously when it comes to comedy. All in all, a pretty good way to start a series. Also, there are these shorts at the end of every episode, and this one has to do with dealing with the pesky fly, which is very similar to the Breaking Bad episode of the same concept, which I'm now very suspicious that Breaking Bad stole an episode idea from a Christian cartoon that came out in 2002. You can't deny Big Idea's influence. Lego my ego. Ha, get it? Because it's like Lego my ego, and that's waffles, and like it's a play on words for ego. Man, I hate this episode. The alchemist sprays a chemical from his flower on Larryboy, and if he brings someone down, they shrink. He captures the people who shrink in a box, and yeah, that's about it. This episode isn't as good as the previous one. I didn't laugh nearly as much, and I think the alchemist villain and his mother are kind of boring compared to Alpha Alvin from the previous episode. The lesson was kind of dry to me as well. Handling ego and being humble. Hell no. To the no, no, no. Hell to the no. Hell to the no. It's not as funny as the first episode either. I understand the lesson of this episode, but Larry is canonically an adult, so the way he acts because he believes he's not being appreciated just was super juvenile. That'd be like if Batman got mad because Commissioner Gordon was getting more attention than he was. I mean, literally, Junior is right there. You know he's perfect for learning these type of lessons. Not a grown man. Well, I mean, grown people can and will have egos, but you get what I'm trying to say here. I feel like I don't have much to say that's positive for this episode besides the short was like pretty mildly entertaining. Next! The Yodel Napper. Greta von Gruesome, a fan of yodelers, kidnaps famous yodelers all over the world. And that's it. This is without a doubt the funniest episode of the series. It's what I think the show should have been if it was allowed to last longer in the comedy field.
Hey! I don't care how bad he is! We do not throw tomatoes in this town!
Sure, the lesson is the same thing as Madame Blueberry, but it's still a very interesting concept for an episode, and it's interesting to watch play out on screen. Greta Von Gruesome has no business going off with that design as she does. This isn't like the other villains, bro. She's actually trying to kill Larryboy. In fact, she tries and kills him twice this episode, once with pudding and one with dropping him to his death. Actually, I think it's 3 times now that I think about it. I think that's more than enough. It's either between this episode or the next episode for the very best. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Featuring Dark Crow, Greta Von Gruesome, and then the awful Alvin steal Bumbleberg's science lab's over easy egg ray, which turns any inanimate object into over easy eggs. Unfortunately though, this is the last episode of the series, and I think by this episode the show had gotten to a place where I think they could have had something great on their hands. The Dark Crow was a very great character to introduce and have alongside Larryboy. They have a great dynamic, and I enjoyed his presence in this episode. If anything, their struggles to be a team would have been a better fit for Lego My Ego. There's another good team up with Greta Von Gruesome and Awful Alvin. They're the best villains in the series, so a team up between them was a great way to finish out the series. The gag humor in this episode is much appreciated, with the gag humor being my favorite form of comedy. If the show had continued, they should have definitely gone for more of that style. I think the whole crush Larry had on Vicky the female cucumber was actually very well done, especially compared to like Larry and Petunia. Nah, I'm just playing. They go. I like them. You know, they cool. Her and Dark Crow definitely should have been in the main series, or at the very least just the Larryboy episodes. Too bad this is the final episode. It was a great way to go out. Larryboy the Cartoon Adventures is a very well made and enjoyable series that deserves way more than what it got. Many characters introduced in the series deserve to be made into full-time characters, but unfortunately they had to be made for this series. The 4 episodes we got were very good for the time period and the style of the series. Well, all except the 2nd episode. I definitely think people in the early 2000s were way too judgmental with the series. And after watching it again with my adult lens, in my opinion, they were wrong. This show is a case of coming out at the wrong place at the wrong time. It's a small gem of a show, and you should definitely pop in an episode just to see how you like it. They're all available on YouTube. Remember, peace, love, and all that stuff. I'm out.